Testimony. We're up to the letter T on the ABCs of God, and we're going to talk about testimony. Good friends, when we were last together, we were blessed to be able to, talk about S, the letter S, sharing. And I said that, we ought to share our wins. We ought to share our testimonies. And I believe I was just talking about the goodness of God and how, we had a super frigid day here in upstate New York, one where we had snowfall on the ground. And somehow God saw fit to show favor and to pull, we were some ways where we were pretty far down on the waiting list to get a new furnace. And he skipped the line. God allowed us to skip the line. And here we were without, heat for just the 3 days. And then all of a sudden, we now have a working furnace. And on top of that, by the way, this was the same weekend that Buffalo got all that snow, and the Bills had to reschedule their game from Buffalo to Detroit, Michigan. So it was quite it was quite cold, guys. But what I didn't do is I didn't really share any of the story behind. Let me talk about testimony here. When we share our testimony, we do it for a particular reason, one in which we want to encourage. And we encourage other people by being vulnerable and allowing them to see maybe not the pretty side of us, maybe not the Facebook or the Instagram or the TikTok or the social media side where everybody's winning, everybody looks good, everybody's doing great, and nobody is in any kind of distress. And that's not the real world, y'all. In the real world, we have W's, but we have L's. And more often, the L's is where the learning takes place. So let me just tell you guys, my testimony and why I know God is good. While, we had these 3 days where we didn't have heat, my son reminded me, she says, you know what, Pops? Now, my son's 25 years old. He's not really in the house. He just has a room. Anybody who has adult kids may be able to relate. But he says, Pops, I remember where we didn't have heat for about a month. And it was so painful. It was so painful. I had suppressed that memory. Y'all, we had a situation where I wasn't making the money. And because I wasn't making the money, we were in the middle of February. And we had relatives donate like these heating oil. You plug them up, they're oil in them, but they're driven by electricity. Oh my goodness, my kids. I think they were 5. My youngest was 5. My oldest was probably 13, 14, and it was tough, y'all. It was tough. It was real hard. Perpetrating, right? Because you go to work, you don't want people to know that you're struggling, and you put on the best face possible. And I hadn't started any of that self-discovery or self-exploration, so I didn't understand about the law of attraction. All I know is I was miserable, and my life was a reflection of how miserable I was. And then I felt like a failure. And because, by definition, what I saw, a man do is, by any means necessary, take care of his people. And I wasn't doing that. And it hurt. uh, but, you know, God takes care of babies and fools. And God brought us through that, strengthened our family. I was a newer Christian, so, you know, that meant a lot in terms of me doubling down on my faith. And all good things come to those that love and serve the Lord. And so it was. My faith of journey begun, and it really deepened my faith. But when my son reminded me that he remembered, that compelled me to share with you guys this post. Because in the encouragement phase of our interacting with other people, people don't know that you are coming from a place in love unless you're willing to be vulnerable, unless you're willing to share your hurts, your habits, your hang-ups, unless you're willing to, because here's what sometimes happens, y'all. Okay, you can get through it. I got through it. You know, I went from rags to riches. And well, tell me, that's not helpful for me. What's helpful is if you get off your ivory tower, get off your pedestal, and come down to where they are, because hopefully you can relate, because at some point you were there too, and you share how you kept the faith, how you share how God, was always in the forefront of your mind. Even if you didn't think you could, you knew the universe had your back. You knew that somehow, some way you were going to get through. That's what folks need to hear. That's by definition your testimony. Good friends, as I bring this to a close, my encouragement and what I will share with you is the old people used to say, no test, no testimony. And I do believe there's some truth to that. So share your testimony, share your wins, and as always, I can't help everybody, but if I can assist you in creating a better life for yourself, if you're overweight, overwhelmed, underpaid, professional, click the link below. Love to book a call and talk to you more. Take care. God bless.